Allegedly, it was a Department of Defense Mark Milley plan to attack Iran.
Which sounds like very important documents that our current president needs to have, not him.
Now, this was at a meeting right here at Bedminster, where we are now. You later told Bret Baier in an interview that you had no document that day, only newspapers and magazines. But we hear you on the tape. We hear you saying, quote, "Look, this was him. This was the Defense Department and him. It's highly confidential. This is secret. This was done by the military and given to me. As president, I could have declassified it. Now I can't. This is still a secret." Now, why would you describe a newspaper article as highly confidential and still a secret, saying as president you could have declassified it, but now you can't?
I can answer that question because he's lying.
Let me just tell you something. Number one, I did nothing wrong because I come under the Presidential Records Act.
I don't know if what he did falls under the Presidential Records Act or not. Yeah, it might be a good legal defense for him. But just because something is legal does not mean it's moral. When he took these classified documents out of the White House and just showed them to whoever he felt like, it's possible they could have fallen into the hands of our enemies, and that possibly could have killed a lot of our soldiers. So as far as I'm concerned, taking classified documents about our nuclear weapons or the invasion plans of Iran is treason.
The fascists who are going after me.
He's not calling them fascists because they're fascist. He's only calling them fascists because they're going after him.
And they're not going after Biden, even though he has about 10 times more documents, maybe more than that. He has documents going back 40 years or 50 years.
But just because Biden did the same thing as vice president, it doesn't make you innocent. But when the DOJ asked Biden to give the documents back, at least he gave them back instead of making excuses like you did about, well, he doesn't have time because his personal effects are mixed up with the classified documents. But as far as Biden is concerned, I could possibly accept cognitive decline or incompetence as an excuse because he did give the documents back when the DOJ asked for them. Or I might be wrong. Biden might be just as guilty of treason as Trump is.
We did nothing wrong. I come under the Presidential Records Act. I'm allowed to have these documents. This was done in 1978, and this was done for exactly this reason. I'm allowed to have these documents.
Just because his lawyers came up with a good legal excuse does not mean it's okay that he did this.
The other side didn't even mention that. They don't even mention the words Presidential Records Act. The Presidential Records Act is very important. Bill Clinton took out in his Sox, it's called the Sox case,
I'm familiar.
where a very respected judge, a very liberal judge, but a very respected judge, ruled in favor of Bill Clinton that he was allowed to take these very important documents, conversations with world leaders, took it out in his socks, and they found them in his sock drawer, and they call it the Sox case. Other people, too. We come under the Presidential Records Act. Now, who doesn't is Mike Pence doesn't because he was a vice president, and he has a much higher standard. Joe Biden doesn't because he was a vice president at the time and he was a senator. He's got thousands of documents as a senator. And even I watched a couple of Democrat senators say very strongly, there's no way he took that out from the SCIF. He's got documents, and he's fighting them like crazy. I come under the Presidential Records Act. It's a very simple thing. Number one, it's civil. It's not criminal at all.
Well, it should be criminal.
Why would you be holding up a newspaper saying this is still secret?
I'd have to look at it.
I could declassify it if I were president.
I would have to look at it.
But that's what you told Bret Baier. You told Bret Baier that that was a newspaper
I could have
or a magazine.
declassified. No, I also told Bret Baier, as I remember, I don't know, it was a long time interview.
Now he's playing dumb. He knows damn good and well he did something wrong.
You tell me, what were you waving around in that
I also
meeting?
told Bret Baier that it wasn't a classified document.
What were you waving around in that meeting? Because it certainly sounds
I'm not
like
going
it
to
was
talk to you about that because that's already been, I think, very substantiated, and there's no problem with it.
It hasn't been substantiated. Jack Smith says
Megan,
it was
let
the
me just
attack
tell you.
plan.
Let me
and
just
you
tell
told
you.
Bret Baier.
Let me tell you. Here we go again. I'm covered by the Presidential Records Act.
Saying you're covered by the Presidential Records Act does not answer the question why you had the documents. The truth is, you know you're wrong for having them and you just don't want to admit it.
I'm allowed to do what I want to do.